Alrighty, family. Alrighty. Y'all see the title. Placements that you guys need to be aware of in your chart that holds high potential of where circumstances dealing with shadow work is going to take place in this lifetime. All right, there's a number of them. Okay, most of the time when you guys are feeling pushed to filter out energies within yourself, when there may be certain times in our life, certain chapters, certain transits, certain phases that we feel like we need to deal with our subconscious some more. We need to learn how to understand ourselves, heal ourselves some more. But these are also these placements will also be the areas that will develop either transformations, will have potential to develop emotional baggage, trauma, things that impact your subconscious. And the more aware we are, the more we're prepared to deal with healing ourselves or these circumstances. All right, guys. So I don't want to make this too long. Let's get right into it. All right. First, squares and oppositions to your moon sign. You guys need to know what planets are squaring and opposing your moon. Your moon is your everything. This is your Merkaba. This is your emotional awareness. This is your emotional needs. This is tied to your Akashic records and your spiritual memory. So when we look at the moon, wherever the moon is at, is going to show us an area like that where we're already developing our subconscious, right? And we're already going to have a strong intuitive feel for things dealing with that area, that house. But anything squaring or opposing the moon remember, guys, the moon moves very fast, right? It stays in the sign for 2.5 days. So when the moon is squaring, opposing a planet in your chart, this is a frequent, constant clash all day, every day, all week. At the work. And the thing about your moon, a lot of these circumstances going to take place in the house that you have the moon, but the moon the shit get deep with the moon. So we know when we're emotionally distressed about something, it's hard to even put our attention and energy towards something else. All right. So the moon can affect so much. So the planets that's squaring and opposing your moon, these energies will a bunch of times, a multitude of times in this lifetime will trigger things that, force you to look at your subconscious, force you to look in the mirror, understand yourself some more. All right. So you need to know these planets. So you got the moon squaring opposing Venus, your relationships, what you value in this lifetime, and how you deal with your self-esteem. These things are going to trigger your shadow work. You got moon squaring or opposing Jupiter. All right. Things dealing with educational matters, what you pursue to explore, or what your belief system, period. These things, you'll go through transformations with these things. You may go through spiritual crisis identities. You may go through certain transformations when it comes to actual experiences in the educational department, or just simply, things that the house that Jupiter is in, the things that house is trying to teach you, Jupiter in that house, when you don't, pass tests in that house, or, you don't apply knowledge in that house, it'll create catastrophic moments with your moon. If it's a repeated lesson that you're not acknowledging, that moon squaring opposing Jupiter is going to create some crazy situations to force you to be like, get your ass to class. And I don't want to see you sitting in the back neither. All right. Get your ass in the front. All right. So, but moon squares and oppositions, that's vital. That was number one on the list. That's vital, guys. These are the things that make us the most uncomfortable. And remember, when we're dealing with aspects, these are the relationships of the different parts of our body. All right. The different parts of our spiritual body. So, it's no difference. It's no difference than, like, a good analogy. If somebody's like, I'm trying to think of a situation where one body part could affect the other. Like, if somebody's like overweight and it's bringing too much pressure on their knees or something like that. Or if like a woman has really big breasts and is bringing a lot of pressure on her back. So it's like one part of your body is causing friction with the other part of your body. This is what's going on with squares and oppositions. Okay. So you have the moon squaring opposing something. You are literally uncomfortable with a part of yourself. So you need to, and these lessons, these relationships, these circumstances in the home environment, these different things, the different ways you think and feel about yourself, these are all things that trigger you to become more comfortable connecting and understanding that part of yourself. All right. Anything that squares or opposes your moon in the natal chart is something that you may not have been comfortable with within your own self, within your own past experiences. Okay. And you can also apply this to any squares and oppositions to the North Node. All right. So that's what we got there. Moon square, squares and oppositions, guys. I always told y'all need to write down your aspects, but you need to know your moon aspects, especially the sextiles, trines, and conjunctions, because these are your biggest powers and gifts, your most natural powers and gifts. You do these things exceptionally well to little to no effort. All right. So that's what we got. Moon squares and oppositions. Next, the house lord for the 4th and the 8th house. All right. Wherever the house lord is at for the 4th and the 8th house, we got some shadow work going on over there. So the 4th house, that house rules how we deal with emotional stability, right? Most of the emotional baggage or things that impact our subconscious and develop trauma or whatnot is usually those first circumstances are things, our childhood things in the home environment, our relationship with our family and our parents. All right, off the rip. So for those of you who still getting familiar with the term house lord, we just want to look at your houses and then look at your 4th house. See what sign, you may have 2 signs in your 4th house, but see the sign that your 4th house starts on, the sign that's on your 4th house cusp. All right. Now, whatever planet rules that sign, go find where that planet is at in your chart. The house that planet is at, that's where the shadow work is at. That's going to be the house that a lot of themes from that house are going to be active in your household and within your family circumstances in this lifetime, and maybe themes present within a relationship with your parents, especially the mother, and things you need to keep in mind. And this house is going to have a lot of themes that either trigger the subconscious or manifest circumstances for you to pay attention to your subconscious some more. All right. Then the 8th house deals with transformation. The 8th house is the shadow work house. This is the shadow work house. We're dealing with deep transformation, deep emotions, deep passions, motives, things that we may have buried, insecurities, trauma. And we're learning, the 8th house purpose is learning how to raise all of that up. And, we're in the 8th house, we're in the 9th house right now, like Sagittarius season and everything, where we're currently at with our current transits. We're in the 9th house. So we just got out of the 8th house. So we were just doing a bunch of shadow work. At least universe was doing their best to make sure they threw our shadow in our faces. So when you see the house lord for the 4th and the 8th house, these houses have potential for shadow work, transformation, circumstances that will impact the emotions here. And you want to be aware of these houses. All right. So it's not so much just looking at your 4th and 8th house. You could look at your 4th and 8th house and see the planets and signs in there. Yeah, that'll give you some awareness about what's going on in there. But that house lord, yeah, we need to know where that house lord is at, because the house lords always give spiritual direction. House lords provide solutions. The house lord is the influences, the feelings and thoughts we always get to do something in a certain area. So when it comes to the house lord of the 4th house, wherever that house lord is at, is going to be somewhere where you could find resolve. You could find a home. You could find some form of emotional stability. And wherever the house lord for the 8th house is at, you'll have more awareness of why you go through transformations a lot. You'll have awareness on how to, heal or develop an approach or attitude or an outlet to transmute deep 8th house energy. So say you got the 8th house lord in the 5th house. The 5th house is going to be your outlet for your emotional baggage, your emotional weight. You dealing with your creativity, you dealing with some form of childlike activity, you dealing with your pastimes. All right. You listen to your music, you dealing with your art. These are going to be things you need to have, in your arsenal, within your regimen, in order to release energies in that 8th house. All right. And then hopefully channel some form of reasoning, understanding through your creativity or through, the creativity and art that you pay attention to. All right. So that's like a little example there. All right. So 4th and 8th house lord, guys, second on the list. Third, squares and oppositions to Pluto and the house that Pluto is in. It's really 2 things, but I just put it together since it's both Pluto influences. Squares and oppositions to Pluto. Pluto, we just said the 8th house is the shadow work house. Pluto's the shadow work planet. All right. It's the ruler of the 8th house. So whatever house Pluto is in, it's gradually going through transformations, is constantly evolving. We're constantly going through power and control issues. We're constantly manifesting situations where we have to learn to let go. We have to learn to surrender, so and Pluto gets to the crevice. All right. Pluto gets to, penetrates to the foundation, to the root of things. So whatever house Pluto is in, you're going to manifest things in there that, make you pay attention to the subconscious, and it's not even a potential. You're going to experience transformations in this house. You're just going to. All right. So understanding that helps us to understand how to, raise circumstances in this house into a higher light. Okay. How to make sense of these situations, understand why this area be so turbulent sometimes. And the more we learn to let go, the more we learn to persevere, the more we learn to flow with transformation, or the more we become more in tune with Pluto in the house and learn when to initiate the transformation. So Pluto don't have to force us to do it. There you go. You one step ahead with your shadow work. You one step ahead. All right. So that's what we got going on. Squares and oppositions to Pluto. Any planet Pluto is squaring or opposing, it's going to pick up the effect of feeling the force from Pluto to transform, to evolve, to shed its skin, to not be complacent. Okay. So that's very important. So if you got Pluto squaring Venus or something, your relationships, your love life, you may attract possessive energies in your relationship. You may be have heavy desires on things dealing with pleasure or dealing with what you like and love, and have to learn how to not overindulge and, understand why you deal with certain attachments, So Pluto ain't gonna play with nobody. Guys. Next, Chiron squares and oppositions and conjunctions.